What is the most overrated adult goal that people chase? I am almost 40, decently educated, and work for myself as a consultant. I don't have a girlfriend, and I haven't had one for 7 years. I am not married, and I have no kids. The amount of side eye and the number of comments I get is scary, even from people my age or slightly younger, not just from the older, traditional generation. Everyone assumes I should have reached the social goal of being married with 2.5 kids by now. It's like they think I'm green with a tail and from, like, Neptune. I have a cat who's my best friend. I'm quite happy and my lifestyle doesn't bother me nearly as much as it seems to bother everyone else. Social standards have not evolved for modern times. Married people with children, I guess, are jealous that he does not share their suffering. Story 2. This thread is sad. It twists the possible cost of accomplishing adult goals into cynical reductionist nonsense. Having a job that requires you to work a lot so you seem busy. Really? Do you all actually think that adults aspire to that one? Having a job with a lot of pressure and responsibility. Nobody has this goal as their explicit goal. Working a full-time, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 job that confines you to an office for 40 plus years. Again, nobody states this as their goal. What about this? I want to accomplish ambitious goals at work while paying my bills. To do that, I need to work a lot, but I don't hate work every day because I'm working with purpose, doing things I sometimes enjoy. I have pressure and responsibility because I employ people in order to accomplish my goals. If I fail, they lose their jobs too. I have to work 8 to 5 because my customers work 8 to 5 and I need to service the business. You can't have the benefits of success without the costs. People in this thread are framing it as if the costs are the goal. The costs are things people will put up with to accomplish their goals. Story 3. Being famous. Nothing about this is good. You have no privacy. You always have to be careful what you say, what you do, and even what you look like. You have to live as a fake, manufactured version of yourself and be as non-offensive as possible. If you're just some random person, you could say something like, I hate Pakistanis, and nobody would care. You might get a few comments saying you are racist and a few racists supporting you, and that's it. But if you're famous, it's over. You can lose your job, lose money, your business can go bankrupt. Another one is traveling a lot for work. It works when you're in your 20s and willing to deal with the hassle of airports, buses, hotels, etc., but it does get old and tedious very fast. Story 4. Making adult friends. Maybe that's just the loser in me. I like people. I like my coworkers. I get on well with most folks I meet. I don't mind a chat or even having a weird bond, but I do not want to hang out with people like that anymore. I have very few slots open in my precious little downtime, and they are for groceries and naps. Story 5. All of it is overrated. I did everything I was supposed to do. Got a good job, got a dog, got married, had kids, and that's the only thing I don't regret. I love them so much. And I bought a big house. Now I'm 50-something, separated, arithritic, and depressed. It's all a freaking waste of time. Just do you and enjoy your life. Don't succumb to societal pressures. Go on adventures. Buy that off-grid cabin in the mountains and be a hermit. Buy that motorcycle and see the world on it. Life is hard no matter what you do, so you might as well have fun while you're at it. Regret sucks. Story 6. Buying a house. In the UK at least, renting actually has quite a few underrated benefits. No true commitment, no debt. You can't be repossessed unless the landlord doesn't pay their mortgage, if applicable. Rent is covered by UK benefits if you lose your job, a mortgage isn't. If anything goes wrong, the landlord needs to get it fixed at no cost to you. Can move out at reasonably short notice with no need to worry about selling and finding a new tenant. Usually no need for buildings insurance. Story 7. I worked in the electronics industry. The amount of scrap circuit boards, chips, and other components that end up in the recycling bins was incredible. I started salvaging certain scrap electronics with the idea that I could make some keychains for friends and family. It then occurred to me that I might be able to make some retirement money via key rings, jewelry, earrings, and so on. I was explaining this to my son and his girlfriend when she pulled out her phone and showed me Etsy, which contained thousands of examples of what I thought was the most original idea in the world. Back to the recycling bins it all went. Story 8. An expensive car that wastes capital, immediately depreciates, and provides no actual value over a cheap car. It's the most ridiculous way people drive themselves into debt, preventing them from accumulating the wealth that would allow them to retire. A Jeep that doesn't even have doors, it's ridiculous, and it's cosplaying as an army man. A Cybertruck that looks like a garbage dumper and falls apart, making you a laughingstock. Any high-end vehicle that people buy when they aren't millionaires is a mistake. By the way, most millionaires I know drive reliable, not flashy cars. Though I don't know any in the double or triple-digit millionaire range, it's just the most ridiculous habit Americans have. Story 9. Finding that perfect mate or their soulmate. In truth, the math is brutal. Even if your perfect person exists somewhere, the odds of actually finding them after filtering for geography, age, timing, and mutual attraction are basically zero. Research shows people who believe in soulmates start relationships hotter, but crash way harder when real problems show up. Meanwhile, the settlers with a growth mindset who picked someone good enough and decided to do the work, They're the ones still married 20 years later. The soulmate hunt is just serial disappointment with romantic branding. I have graphs that I math in case you're interested. Lol, I really do need to find a girlfriend. Story 10. If a person spends $800 a month on a luxury car payment and insurance instead of investing that same amount in a modest index fund starting at age 30, they are forfeiting approximately $1.2 million by the time they reach age 65, assuming a 7% return. That flashy car is quite literally the difference between a comfortable retirement and having to work forever. Since you've noticed this pattern in others, would you like me to look up some 2026 total cost of ownership comparisons for the most popular reliable cars, or perhaps help you draft a financial reality check guide for someone you know who might be considering a bad purchase? Story 11. Being cool, fitting in, while saying you don't give a crap what others think because you are over it, yet you absolutely care what others think. So many moms in my kids' social circles and classes have not matured past being the 14-year-old insecure girl at the chubby kids table. They're obsessed with dressing, speaking, hobbies, vacationing, and buying, just like all the cool moms. It's actually sad because they force that crappy mindset down to their kids without realizing it. I've been around tons of conversations where moms talk to their kids as if the children are part of their social circle, trying to make them cool. It's nauseating. Story 12. Money and material possessions. It's a vicious cycle. We're taught that we need to make money so we can afford to buy the cool stuff out there that gives us status to let people know that we're successful and have money. Once you have acquired the material possessions, you must make more money to both maintain the possessions and acquire new stuff so people know you're successful at the new echelon you've reached. All of a sudden, you have that Louis bag, but you really need a Hermes bag to show that you've made it. Meanwhile, you keep slaving away, unable to enjoy your time because you've been caught in a feedback loop that is defined by a definition of success that you realize was never your own, but something you were taught. You become older and realize this more and more. You lose time with your family, enjoying your hobbies, and determining what that quality of life actually means to you without any outside influences. You've become a slave to your own ambition, making ends meet but needing to maintain what you've accomplished. But you realize that Matt Foley yelling about living in a van down by the river is what's ideal. Your own time, your own space. You found out that it doesn't matter if the car you're driving looks nice, only that it doesn't break down on the journey. You've realized those Max 10 jeans cover your butt just as well as any other, and those can even be found at Goodwill. That crappy window shaker in a clean but cheap mobile home cools as well as central air in an empty mansion. Then life's regrets come upon us all at once while we reflect on what really mattered all along. Story 13. Retiring at 65. 65 is when all your body crap starts really breaking down, and with all this free time, you'll end up not being able to do all the cool stuff you wanted to do. So if you're young now, say under 30, meet with a financial advisor ASAP and tell them you want to retire as soon as humanly possible. I am not a financial advisor, by the way. They'll give you the savings and investing playbook with auto payments. If you do this, you simply will not have the money to buy a bunch of stupid crap that won't give you any real joy or long-term happiness. And maybe you'll be able to retire at, say, 55, and you'll buy yourself an amazing extra decade of health to go do all sorts of amazing things before you just up and pass away like everyone else. Story 14. Here's one a lot of people aren't ready for: owning a house. We hear every day about how big a travesty it is that young people today can't afford houses, and I get it. It feels bad paying rent while knowing other people who bought houses in 2019 basically doubled their net worth. But speculative asset economics aside, is owning a house actually better than renting? As a 31-year-old man who managed to buy a house before turning 30, I can honestly say I think it's way overrated. It's so much more stressful than renting. Every big rainstorm, you worry about flooding. Every time it snows, you worry about burst pipes. Every new random noise becomes something you need to figure out and fix rather than just an annoyance to ignore. You worry about whether or not you are upkeeping your yard well enough. You worry about whether the housing market is going to collapse. You worry about whether or not you're going to need to replace the appliances again. There's just so much to do and so much to worry about. I like my house, but I do miss how easy it was to just rent and relax. When something broke, it was someone else's problem. That was so nice. Story 15. This might be a bit controversial, but 1, getting married, and 2, having kids. Rather than living your life first and figuring yourself out, you're being taught to rush through life. It's as if you've already failed if you're not married with kids by age 20. You start getting weird looks and comments from other people, even your own family. I think these shouldn't be the most important goals in anyone's life. The rush is why we live in a world with emotionally unavailable and mentally unstable parents dealing with midlife crises and burnout. Consequently, those poor kids grow up in really bad conditions with parents who may end up cruel or resentful. Live your life and figure yourself out first. Make sure you are emotionally, physically, and mentally ready to enter this new stage. Never let your parents or society tell you otherwise. I'm 25 right now, and I'm definitely not ready for a kid. I want my future child to live their best life with a mother who loves them unconditionally. Break the generational trauma. Story 16. Hear me out. Having children. If it is your adult goal and you were only thinking about checking off that biological imperative, giving my parents grandkids, or getting to have all those parties like baby showers and gender reveals, it's the same thing as getting someone a puppy for Christmas because they like cute puppies, without caring about the quote-unquote big dumb dogs that they grow into. If you want to bring a life into this world to nurture it and you accept that the child will be their own person and not someone you can live vicariously through, if you want to do the work because you find it rewarding, then it's awesome and not an overrated thing at all. Story 17. Hyper-optimization, setting and monitoring the performance of goals and habits that will supposedly take you out of the prison of a 9-to-5, but instead put you in the prison of trying to be perfect, chasing burnout and treating stress as a form of progress or direction. I used to track my food, workouts, sleep quality, habits, and goals. While it helped me build confidence and trust with myself, boy, did I make the burnt-out version of myself my baseline. I focused so much on specific areas and not enough on just being present and living. I still maintain healthy habits and achieve goals with a more minimalist approach, but finding peace and not having to attack everything in my life to the max all the time has led to drastic improvements. Story 18. Homeownership. I'm a homeowner and I freaking hate it. It's a second job for which you pay rather than it paying you. Even in a modern home, there is usually something broken and sometimes expensive that needs attention. I live in the UK where homeownership is a religion and is seen as compulsory and inevitable. Although the systems vary throughout the UK, it has the most broken, shambolic, stressful, and archaic property transaction processes in the world. Not only do we have home ownership ram-rotted down our throats, we have to ensure this protracted four-ring circus just to get there in the first place. The UK housing market is also screwed with a rake because of all these idiotic buying schemes that just fan the flames rather than putting out the fire. People who have no business owning a pair of shoes are buying expensive houses at 22 with literal peanuts for a down payment and a $37,000-year mortgage. It's insane. Yet having your name on a database saying you own that pile of bricks on that piece of land is somehow an achievement and a milestone in life? So long as it happens before age 30 or so, renting past 30 for any reason is seen as clueless and financial illiteracy. Story 19. Marriage. I dodged a bullet 7 years ago. I had the wife, the kids, the house, and the land. I was in my late 40s with a good job, a boat, a Harley, and a gun safe that was full. I had a 1970s Super B muscle car, solid friends, and even a back patio stacked with expensive grills and smokers, but you could feel it. Discord was in the air. Friends were slowly getting divorced, and most of them were initiated by their wives. In my own marriage, things started to sour. Maybe it was menopause, maybe it was a midlife crisis on her end, I don't know. What I did know was where it was headed, so before she had a chance to file, I did. Because I had a prenup, I sold everything that was personally mine and then filed. I remember that Friday morning clearly more than 7 years ago. I took off my wedding ring, placed it in her jewelry box, dropped my house key just inside the front door, stepped out, and locked the door on my old life behind me. We sold the house, the land, and everything else. She didn't get a penny from me because of the prenup. I never spoke to her again. The last thing I ever said to her was while she was washing her face in the bathroom. I told her I was going to lie down, wished her good night, and said something like, "Try to have good dreams." I remember her eyes flicking to me in the mirror for a split second, then back to her face. No smile, no response. I stayed another year at my job, then retired in mid-December. I spent Christmas Eve at the airport and landed in Manila on the 25th. I dodged a bullet. I didn't lose anything, and I'll spend the next 25 plus years giving myself one hell of a last ride. Story 20. Having everything figured out by the time you're 25, I swear to God, if I see one more person in their early 20s on here whining, complaining, and feeling depressed or anxious about how their adult life has turned out, even though they've barely even started, I'm going to scream. Other than that, if we're talking about adulthood in general, I would say chasing a diploma or a degree even though you have no idea what you want to do for a living. It costs so much money, and many times people end up switching careers and working in a field that has nothing to do with that degree anyway. Also, I'm not saying that a stable job is a bad thing, but so often people chase that steady job with routine hours and a pension, yet they literally want to shoot themselves in the head for 40 years while going to that job. I think stability in the workplace is actually often overrated because it does not guarantee money, balance, or happiness. It keeps people safe and in their comfort zone when the reality of life is that learning, growth, and change are all also good for humans. For what it's worth, most of the wealthy people I know have stability, but they don't have a routine job. They're usually their own boss and are people who can handle taking big risks and a high level of stress. Learning those skills would bring a lot of people more happiness than they think. Story 21. Money. Money is not a primary goal. Money is a secondary goal to help you get to your primary goal. You want to spend all day fishing? You need money for that. You want to have a super cool car? Money. You want to be able to live in luxury and never have anyone to tell you no? Money. What some people don't understand is that chasing money itself is not a goal. It's the thing that helps you get to your actual goals. When people lose sight of that and only chase the money, they're never happy because there's never enough money to make them happy. Story 22. This might be controversial, but marriage. I feel like in our culture there's a ton of pressure on girls and young women especially to center men in their lives and find the man you're going to marry. This could be informed by the fact that I grew up around a lot of Christian culture where this is really prevalent in my opinion. Similarly, there's mixed messaging for boys and young men. They are told it's okay to be promiscuous and they hear all the old ball and chain talk, but generally past a certain age, if you don't have a wife, it's frowned upon as if there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with wanting to get married, of course, but there's also nothing wrong with not wanting to get married or staying single. That can be very healthy. In my observation, a lot of people chase it for the wrong reasons or wind up placing a lot of their self-worth into their marital status. I think it can lead folks to rush into marriage with people they don't know that well or to stay in unhappy marriages. Or they're chasing the wedding rather than an intentional long-term commitment to a spouse. Anyway, that's just my weird 2 cents. I hope that all made sense. Story 23. This is going to be controversial, but owning a home. I have an uncle who owned a house and hated it. He was so happy when he finally sold his home, even at a loss. He loves renting and plans to rent for the rest of his life. As a child and young adult, I didn't understand his mindset at all because in my millennial mind, owning a home was the goal. I'm in my 30s now and we purchased a home at the end of 2024. Now I finally understand my uncle. In just the last 3 months, we have had multiple issues with the AC, a leak, and a furnace valve going out, leaving us without heat for 3 weeks in the middle of winter. Now our dryer doesn't stop even if you open the door. All of the outlets are loose, our sprinkler system doesn't work, the entire AC needs to be replaced next summer. We need a new toilet and all the windows need to be replaced. The list just keeps going. It literally feels like our house is crumbling around us. I'm grateful, I'm not saying I'm not grateful, but I'm also really stressed out and was ill-prepared for what homeownership really entails. Story 24. Homeownership. I'm not saying it's bad in and of itself. However, with current prices the way they are, due to corporate and foreign investments in real estate, the average American working responsibly and dutifully for decades to pay off a mortgage on a piece of property with an artificially inflated price won't accrue enough value to contribute significantly to retirement anymore. It has become a bad, disincentivized investment. As with many things now, when an American buys a house and slowly pays the mortgage, they often get very little out of it, while somewhere else, a billionaire becomes a little bit richer. Story 25. Wealth as being a measure of success or the importance of other people validating you as a measure of success. I believe how it was traditionally defined has warped the happiness of many people. I made it a point to teach my kids a different way to measure success. Wealth is really an enabler for success and happiness rather than the end goal. How much wealth you need should be variable for your goals and what makes you happy. If you don't know what it takes for you to be satisfied with your life and happy with yourself, then wealth is empty. It's definitely a multi-layered conversation and a lot more complicated topic than these few sentences, but that is it in a nutshell. And if you're learning a thing or two from these stories too, well, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos just like this. Story 26. Having kids. That is the quickest way for a woman to become a single parent. Often the father can't handle it when his wife's focus shifts mainly to the child. Statistics on marriage and children, premarital parenthood, couples who have children before marrying have significantly higher divorce rates, around double compared to those who don't have kids first. Step-families, remarriages involving children from a prior relationship have a high failure rate, with some estimates suggesting divorce rates around 45 to 50% or even higher. Post-baby decline, marital satisfaction can drop significantly after children arrive. Some sources indicate it declines twice as fast as in childless marriages, though this doesn't always lead to divorce. High-risk periods. According to Grazia Daily UK, around 20% of couples break up within the first year of a baby's life. Story 27. Brand new car. I bought a 2-year-old car from the dealer at a 5.5% interest rate. It does more than get me from point A to B, but Christ, I pay almost $1,000 a month for the car costs, including total gas, insurance, and my car payment, which is under $500. My insurance is stupid high because of where I live. I have never even been in an accident. If I had a brand new car, it would be even worse on the car payment side. Your goal should be something reliable that doesn't lose a third of its value the day you drive it off the lot. Having a brand new car actually doesn't matter at all. It is more of a flex in my eyes not to have a car payment. Story 28. Prestige. Everyone is trying to gain social prestige through the things that they buy, their politics, and even their partners. The idea of a quiet, simple life is not enough for many. They just want to constantly chase prestige. I don't blame the individuals. It's a tragic consequence of consumerism, a PvP mode of cooperation, in which you climb a hierarchy through prestige. Examples include flashy cars, big houses, blindingly white teeth, and vacations taken primarily for social media posting and clout. People even seek prestige partners, such as a man who is at least 6'3" or a woman who meets a specific physical ideal. I think we could all aspire to live more like hobbits. Story 29. Getting married? For gosh sakes, slow down and don't rush into marriage or engagement just so you too can have a diamond ring on your finger like you see all your friends having on social media. All those things that bother you about your significant other now, they will bother you even more in 10 years. Also, it is a huge financial decision. In many states, any money or assets you acquire during the marriage, your spouse is entitled to 50% of. This is why people are so broke after a divorce. Your spouse cheats, they still get 50% of whatever you accumulated during the marriage. Your spouse becomes lazy and stops pulling in their weight, they still get 50% of everything you own. Just slow down and really think about what you're doing and who you are tying your financial future and mental health to before saying, I do. Story 30. Home ownership. Yes, owning a home can have massive benefits as you lock in the cost of housing as inflation continues to rise, but it can also bring massive liabilities as well as upkeep costs are on you, and things like roofs, HVAC, plumbing, etc. are all very expensive. I'm calling it overrated because it genuinely is. It's been pitched as this absolute pinnacle of adulting and is treated like a basic right. I deserve to own a home and so I shall. That belief has honestly caused most of the problems with housing in the last 25 years. The 2008 crisis was all about I deserve to own a home even though I can't afford it, so I'll take any crappy loan I can in order to do so. If you can't afford to save up to 10 to 20% down on your home, you're not going to be able to save up and be prepared for maintenance. Basic checks should serve as a litmus test of whether or not you're capable of financially handling home ownership. Instead, set things up to let the grossly unqualified compete in the housing market and prices skyrocket, making it harder on everyone. Story 31. Marriage, especially when people are young and haven't been with each other for long enough. Now that I've freshly graduated from college, I've seen a huge wave of people from my school on social media announcing engagement to partners they've only been with for 2 years. I don't know, maybe I'm biased, but my parents dated for 7 years before getting married, and they didn't wed until they were in their late 20s or early 30s. They always instilled in me the importance of dating someone long enough to recognize their flaws and navigate challenges together before making that commitment. But I keep seeing kids my age who are so eager to marry their high school or college sweethearts at age 22, and I've never understood what the rush is. You're still in your honeymoon phase and you've barely had to navigate any real adult challenges together. Why the rush? I never got a good answer when I asked these people why they are in such a hurry. Story 32. Career first. I remember being in college and talking to my roommate's parents about giving up summer break to work an internship, and they were just like, dude, you have the rest of your life to work. It sucks, and once you start, you never really stop. And I know it's easier said than done because bills, problems, etc. But at the end of the day, your company probably won't remember all that extra time you put in for them. Your pets, family, and friends will. Also, I just watched Adam Sandler's Click and I cried. Story 33. Owning a fancy car, maybe just car ownership in general. It seems like every time I meet up with friends, all of the car owners have some repair they just paid for or something. I'm also used to taking public transportation to get around. I can take the train, the bus, or the Jeep just fine. I even arrive to meetups earlier than the car owners since I don't have to look for parking space. Finally, I'm not that passionate about cars. I can't tell the difference between a fancy Mazda and a Toyota Vios, for instance. Some people can, but not me. Story 34. I think people have to let go of the idea that they're going to find perfection. There is no perfect partner, job, car, house, family, dog. Just kidding. All dogs are perfect, etc. That doesn't mean you have to settle for something you dislike, but it does mean you have to be more realistic. You are going to have a vision of what you think you want, and there's a temptation to reject anything that doesn't fit that vision. Instead, I think you have to focus on healthy boundaries and deal breakers. So, in a relationship, maybe you're dating someone who you have a great chemistry with, but you feel like they aren't as focused on success and developing their career as you are. If you decide that's a deal breaker, then that's okay, but if you decide you can live with it, then you have to let go of the idea that you can transform the other person to fit that vision. This applies to everything, not just relationships. Story 35. Money and status at the expense of human capital. I met a guy in his 40s who prioritized his career to such a degree that he neglected having children, taking vacations, and visiting family. He got his wish, he made a lot of money and received plenty of awards and recognition. However, as we were sitting on his porch drinking beer the first night I met him, he told me in his intoxicated state that he really wanted to have his own kids but couldn't anymore. He also regretted the relationships that he shattered on his climb to the top. Long story short, while making money is cool and helps you provide for yourself and the people you love, it doesn't mean anything if you had to sacrifice years of time you could have been spending with them in the first place. You're not going to wish you were surrounded by wads of cash on your passing. Story 36. Home ownership. It's very nice to be able to stay in one place for a long time and not need to move, and it's great to have your own space to do whatever you want with. But it's also a huge pain in the butt. There are constant expenses, things are constantly breaking or not working correctly, and you often decide to just ignore it because that's easier than finding a door specialist to fix that weird pocket door. There's always some sort of plumbing issue or an appliance that breaks. It's annoying and quite expensive. Ultimately, I think it's a leash. It keeps you where you are and makes it much more difficult to move to a different place, look for jobs in another state, or simply have the flexibility of leaving easily if you want to. I think we bought a house after marriage because that's just kind of what you do. It's what we've been told our whole lives is the American dream, but sometimes it can be an albatross. Story 37. The answer is pickup trucks. They're incredibly expensive and almost none of the people buying the 3 million or so of them that sell in the US each year, only counting the new ones, actually need a pickup truck. For anyone who doesn't regularly haul things, they are purely a signal of one's manhood to oneself and one's peers. The reality is that anyone who knows anything about pickup trucks knows that 75% of the people you see driving a shiny new pickup truck on the roads are financially illiterate idiots. Story 38. Owning a home as soon as possible. Many people chase this only to finally own their own home while they're just starting out in their career, and then they feel overwhelmed with the amount of bills and maintenance that goes into home ownership. Got lots of friends my age in this situation. Personally, while I could qualify for a mortgage now at 25, I'd rather wait until I'm 30 when my income is higher and enjoy the remainder of my 20s relatively stress-free. I'm fortunate that I have decent income and rent is fairly affordable in my area for now. I've also been fortunate to have good landlords. Sure, I'm not building equity, but to me it's worth it so that I can advance in my career and save money without the added stress of home ownership on top of it. Story 39. This is probably a personal one for me. Career, I have more than enough by most accounts, but there's this invisible pressure on you to keep chasing more, higher title, higher pay, etc., as if you're falling behind in some way compared to others, even though you're solidly middle class. I think part of that pressure materializes through the lens of watching others start families, buy big houses, travel the world, etc. But the cost of everything these days, even the middle class feels a bit insufficient. I honestly hate it, but I don't know how to be okay with being okay. Story 40. To be as good a parent as my parents, raise my children in my own way and see them grow up to be the best they can be, to see them truly happy. I truly want to be the best father in the world, and for that to work, I'd require a loving wife. To get a loving wife, I need a stable job and a good physique. To get a stable job, I just need to finish 6 more years of college and pick up my training again. All I do to become the best damn father, husband, and friend I can be. Story 41. Ever since kindergarten, my dream has been to be a published writer. The only thing that was stopping me was my short attention span. Over the years, I've developed characters, plots, beginnings, endings, etc., but as soon as I begin to write, my desire to continue the story would dissolve into nothing. But everything changed one day when I created a world that was unable to stay within my imagination. For over 3 years, I've been pouring my heart and soul into the first of a novel series I hope I can get published. I'm so close to finishing my first edit. After a few more edits, I'm faced with my biggest challenge, finding a publisher that will publish it. Story 42. Make money? That sounds really greedy, but the plan is actually because I've had a lot of opportunities most people don't get, and because of that, I can reasonably expect to be paid many times the average salary. Honestly, I hate those rich people who are so hopelessly out of touch, and I hate the ones who pretend not to, even more. But it'd be stupid to throw away what's been invested in me, and since I really don't have a dream job, I just plan to make as much as possible, and use that to either start a company based around actually treating employees well, or more likely, just amassing a ton of money and giving it away to help others. Money doesn't bring happiness, but gives you the power to give that to others. Story 43. I don't know, I'm 30 and have no idea. I'm currently a stay-at-home mom, which is great if a bit boring at times, but I feel as if I should be doing something. I think it's because society puts a huge amount of pressure on us to contribute, to pull our own weight, but you aren't always given the tools to do so. I'm a stay-at-home mom. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I've heard people say it's what's best, but I still feel like I'm failing. My goal is to raise the most amazing child I can, but I still feel like I'm not doing enough. Well, now I'm depressed. Story 44. To prove everyone wrong, all my life I have been the outlier. I am the outlier. I'm going to be a senior this year and I hate it. I hate that my parents think I'm lazy and procrastinate. I hate how my sister and all of my cousins my age drink and smoke to fit in and be cool, while I'm not because I don't care for any of that. I hate that I'm overweight, the only one in my family. I hate that I'm looked past because that is what I am. I am looked past. What is my main goal in life? I'm going to graduate from high school. I'm going to enlist in the Marines because I want to serve, to show them I have the guts to be brave and active, not lazy, and to get myself in line. Then I'm going to get out and attend a university to study economics and finance. I'm good with numbers, I always have been. And here's my favorite part, I'm different from my entire family, and that difference is why I will be successful and they won't. I wake up every morning and just feel it. I will be successful. I think it has to do with my personality. I find myself to be a mix between a narcissist and a realist. Story 45. Trending improvement. I don't have a hardline goal. Sure, there are things I am working towards, but I am not set on actually getting there in a certain time frame. I'm also very open to the possibility that I may not like some of these things once I get my feet wet. I may adjust what I am working towards in the future. However, my real goal is to make progress on these things, very basic, be a human sort of things. I don't need constant improvement, but I do need to show trending improvement to meet my objective. I have been succeeding at this for many years now. Story 46. I just want to be able to wake up, go to my crappy job, get reprimanded every day, and come back home and be okay because I would have a relationship with someone who can just sit, listen, and enjoy my company. It would all be okay because I could just sit and watch Netflix with them knowing that everything is going to be alright because I am not alone. That hasn't happened. Instead, it's exactly the same except I come home and it's dark and empty and there's nothing to eat. I feel like a disgusting piece of crap who seriously needs to take a shower, but I have so little motivation to do anything that I hardly ever do. Sometimes my mother is home, lying on the couch, blaring reality TV and such. It is way too loud all night. I go back to community college soon, but I don't even want to. I've suddenly lost all motivation and passion for any major I could be working towards. In the best case scenario, I want to live next to a train station so I can watch them go by all day and even take one downtown on the weekends to get pizza. I like taking the train. I want to be able to go up onto the roof and watch the stars. I want to make my living creating video games because I can't really do much else. I want to go sleep next to someone I can trust, knowing that they love me back as much as I love them. I don't want to go to work every day just to get yelled at. I want to live somewhere safer. So, in all seriousness, I'm not sure I know what my goals are, just to be in a better spot than I am now, and I'm replying to this more than 14 hours late. Story 47. My goal is to get to a point where I'm working a job that I enjoy, that pays for all the essentials and allows me to save and enjoy my free time. I'd like either a single apartment somewhere outside of a city or a home with a significant other. Whether we get married or not is not currently part of the plan. We'll see where that goes. So far, I've graduated college and have a job that allows me to pay my loans, afford an apartment with 4 friends, and live relatively comfortably. I can afford to go out if I want to or travel to another state for the weekend to see friends. If I don't feel like cooking, I can get something on the way home from work and only think about my bank account for a few seconds. I have lots of room to grow at my job, which is key to my goal. I don't plan on being here forever, but I think I got pretty lucky with a first job out of college. I have an office, I'm given more responsibilities every month, and I was told yesterday that I'm in line for a raise at the end of the next quarter. I feel this will set me up to complete my goal in the future. Story 48. My goal in life is to live the American dream. I want to go to college and either work with computers, do something with science, or pursue the law. I want to meet a beautiful girl who will love me for who I am and be my significant other. I want to buy a big, beautiful house near a large city. I want to have kids at 30. I want them to go to the best public schools available. And I want them to go to a really great college to do something meaningful that they want to do with their lives. I want to travel around the country and to other countries to experience foreign cultures and learn foreign languages. I'd say I'm a quarter of the way there. I'm currently 21 years old, studying Russian, Chinese, Spanish, law, physics, chemistry, and computer science. I currently don't have a girlfriend, but I'm renting an apartment in central Seattle with a roommate. I did a major road trip around the US during the summer I graduated high school, and I have been to Canada numerous times. My maternal grandmother lives there. I've also been to Germany, France, the Netherlands, and the UK, and I can speak fluent German. My paternal grandparents are from Germany. Story 49. I've never ever admitted this to anyone, but honestly my goal in life is to not have any responsibilities besides the ones I choose. I want total independence. No more people counting on me to do things because I'm family, no mortgage, no kids, nobody dumping their problems on me just because we're tied together somehow. I want to be able to just focus on myself, my partner, my work, my hobbies, my friends, in that order. Don't get me wrong, I'm charitable and I live my entire life helping others, and that's the work that gives me my most fulfillment. And I'm the guy that you could call to help move on short notice and won't ask for anything in return and will never bring up the favor done again. I really just don't want to be tied down. Story 50. Since 2013, I have been working somewhat tirelessly to build a world full of superheroes and fantastical things. I set for myself this sort of 5-year plan and have been pushing to hit all of the milestones I've mapped out. I've got 7 published works right now, a number 0 comic that I unfortunately lost the artist for, and a live-action trailer. The biggest hurdle was getting comics off the ground to accompany the novellas again, but I recently found an artist who was cool with the budget and has so far produced some really great stuff. As far as the plan goes, I've managed to stay pretty much on track. My main goal is to be literally as great as I can be. I want to be the best author I can and never stop trying to improve. That's my main goal. After that, I want to be read by as many people as I can, convinced to read my work, but if all I can ever accomplish is that first part, well, alright. And if any of these stories got to you too, here's more for you. YouTube thinks you're gonna love this. I'll catch you in that video.